because, the human body, it's not just your arm, it's your entire body that basically it encapsulates everything. So you might have like, a tennis elbow, but that the main source of cause might be in your neck or your shoulder, based on stress or overuse or things like that. And so for me, I look at the human body as a whole because everything is working together. Your muscles, your skeleton, your nervous system, your immune system.
Welcome to Beyond the Pain, the podcast that explores what it really takes to break free from chronic pain and reclaim your life. I'm your host, Leigh Brandon, and someone who's spent over 2 decades helping people get to the root cause of pain that no one else could explain. Whether you're dealing with long-term back issues, joint pain, nerve discomfort, or mysterious symptoms that just won't go away, this show is here to help you go deeper. Because beyond the pain, there's clarity, strength, and power waiting for you. Each week, we'll uncover the physical, emotional, biochemical, and energetic causes of pain and how to transform them. Let's dive deep into this week's episode. In this episode, we explore what pain is really trying to tell us and what it actually takes to move beyond it. Today's conversation is a powerful one. I'm joined by DK Kang, who shares his personal journey through chronic pain, resilience, and healing, not just from a physical perspective, but from a mindset and lifestyle perspective too. In this episode, we explore how pain can act as a teacher rather than just a problem to fix. DK talks openly about the lessons pain forced him to confront, the role of nutrition and daily habits in recovery, and why gratitude, mindset, and personal responsibility play such a huge role in the healing process. We also get very practical. DK shares simple, actionable strategies for anyone struggling with pain, including how to start small, why failure is part of the learning process, and how reading, education, and mentorship can accelerate real change. So whether you're dealing with pain yourself, supporting someone who is, or simply wanting a deeper understanding of resilience and growth, this is a conversation you'll get a lot from. So let's dive in. DK, welcome to Beyond the Pain. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. It's a great honor.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Now, DK, I always like to start at the beginning. And, your story is such a powerful one. You've lived through chronic pain yourself. You've had sports injuries and some deep personal struggles. Was there a turning point where pain shifted from being, just a burden to becoming a teacher in your life?
Oh man, I think so many times pain has become a teacher for me. Give you an example. I've had multiple injuries. I've had 3 concussions in my lifetime. So I've done martial arts for about 34 years now. I still continue to do it. But yeah, when I was about 15, I was at a tournament and it was a taekwondo tournament. And basically, the judge said stop and told us, both me and my competitor, to turn around and basically go to our corners. And as I turned around, my competitor, I guess he was upset or he was angry or something like that. But he kicked me as hard as he could on my tailbone, and he actually broke my tailbone.
Wow.
And I still live with it today.
Oh,
I've seen countless chiropractors. I've seen orthopedics. I don't know, maybe like 30 chiropractors. I've done massage, trying to get it, stretching. But because it basically solidified and calcified into that position, so my tailbone is at a 90 degrees and it's shifted to the left.
right.
So for me, I've been dealing with that since I was 15.
Mm,
I'm turning 40 almost now. And
mm,
so there's times where it has become a teacher for me where I'm like, okay, I need to adjust something, whether it be like, okay, I can't sit for very long, or I need to change my exercise, like when I go run or something like that. I'm like, okay, I can't run in this exact way or I need proper shoes. And so for me, like, yeah, I was a teacher because I'm like, all right, body mechanics is huge, but I need to also be able to adjust myself and so I can get comfortable or do something new so I don't aggravate my pain in my tailbone basically. And there's
Mm.
other instances as well, but that's kind of a one example.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for you to share more.
Yeah, so another injury that I had, I think I was like 5 or 6 years old, and this was my very first concussion. So me being like a 5-year-old and I was hanging out with my brother, I was like, I don't know if I said it was a good idea or if he said it was a good idea, but to hang up, like, like there's a door handle. I put both my feet on like the door handle and like kind of swinging around the door. And then I think I slipped or I missed my footing, and then I fell backwards and I hit my head, the back of my head, on a corner, and I ended up like I saw blood, and then I don't remember what happened after that, but I know I woke up in the hospital and like face down, and I couldn't move. And so I think I got like a lot of stitches. I don't remember how many stitches I got, but I still have that scar till this day. But I think it became a teacher because sometimes you have to go through those things in order to teach you, like, okay, like life isn't about fun and games. Life isn't, like this wild ride of like just having fun. Sometimes you have to be serious. And I didn't me being a kid, I saw it as something fun to hang on the door, but that cost me, my parents' medical bills, and that
Mhm.
cost me, I think it was like a month out of school or something like that. And so like I had to make up so much schoolwork and, because like being a month gone, I was like, man, like, so a lot of that has taught me like, okay, like I need to, there's a fine point of having fun and being serious. So, yeah, that was another good teacher of mine as an
Mm.
injury.
Cool. Yes, it's interesting. In the training that I've done, my teacher talks about something called the pain teacher,
Mm.
right? And how pain is a really important teacher. It's normally there to warn you that either there's some imbalance in your body or there's something that's not you're not living life in the right way, so to speak. Um, I know you've experienced broken bones, you've torn muscles, as you mentioned, concussions. A whole catalogue of injuries that most people will never face. What did those experiences teach you about resilience, recovery, and really listening to what the body is trying to say?
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I believe that the body can heal itself. I think resilience, I think it really teaches you, like, to kinda get back up. Uh, you know, so life will basically knock you down. Um, Life will be challenging.
Mm,
And I think those instances of injury or pain, yeah, I mean, because we always have a choice to either get back up or stay down when life happens. Whether we
mm,
sustain an injury from sports or whether if we just slipped on ice, just walking to work or something, or walking outside. Um, but I think that human resilience is like it's built by those small, sometimes even big things that, like when life happens, and that, because I feel like the easy way out is to give up,
mm,
and it's always a choice to get back up and to try something new. And I think with recovery, I mean, for me, I've been a licensed massage therapist for like 18 years now, and so, I deal with a lot of um, sports injuries, whether it be runners, tennis elbow, golfers, things like that. And for me, is I look at the person as like, okay, you're experiencing this. What caused it? Is there any other areas that are, above it or below it? or on the other side that's causing this issue as well. Because the human body, it's not just your arm, it's your entire body that
mm,
basically it encapsulates everything. So
mm,
you might have, like, a tennis elbow, but that the main source of cause might be in your neck or your shoulder, based on stress or overuse or things like that. And so for me, I look at the human body as a whole, because everything is working together. Your muscles, your skeleton, your nervous system, your immune system. And yeah, I think recovery not only is um, soft tissue work, but chiropractors are great as well. But I think also nutrition plays a big part.
mm,
The foods that we eat
yeah,
can either enhance our healing, or they could be a detriment. If we're eating a lot of fast food and sugary drinks, it's going to cause more inflammation, and then your recovery process is not that great. And so for me, I think nutrition, soft tissue work, stretching is great recovery.
mm,
Hydration is another one. When we're not drinking enough, our basically our muscles and tendons basically get stiff, and when they get stiff, it's like taking a cold rubber band and trying to stretch it. What's going to happen? It's gonna break, right? And
mm,
that's kind of the same thing with, like, our own muscles and tendons and ligaments. And so yeah, I think resilience and recovery, it really builds your character when you face these challenges. And then recovery, uh, I'm not a big believer in, like, taking a pill, or doing surgery. I
mm,
feel like surgery should be like last option,
mhm,
if you've done everything you can. But I believe that there's other ways to recover and heal.
mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I'm probably going to bore my audience, but I'm going to share with you a couple of stories that really is in alignment with what you've just said. So in 2013, I actually ruptured my L45 and L5S1 discs, and it wasn't the most pleasant experience to go through.
No.
It was about 22 months of rehabilitation before I could get back lifting heavy weights and
Yeah.
playing tennis again. And the thing I learned from that experience was an important lesson, and the lesson was to not work so hard, not work really long hours. Like, make sure, listen, I know what I should be doing. I know I should be taking care of exercise and nutrition and hydration and getting enough sleep and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I was nailing the nutrition. Yes, I was nailing the hydration, but I was writing a book at the time, and I wasn't getting the exercise done. I was spending way too long at the computer all day. And, the body will give you certain signs to listen out for. And if you
Mhm.
ignore them, they'll get louder, right?
Mhm.
And what was interesting when I look back at that experience, I was teaching a course the week before, and I'm standing all day and I kept thinking, oh, it feels like my sacroiliac joint is tightening up. And I found it difficult standing for long periods, but I have to stand for 8 hours a day when I'm teaching.
Mhm.
And then I had a day off, then I went back to work, and I remember I was deadlifting in the gym, and I remember getting a shooting pain through my right knee, and my body just said to me, stop, just like,
Yeah.
your workout's done, right?
Mhm.
And then it was literally the next morning I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing that I really learned that was a really good lesson for me, and there's a really great book called The Gift of Pain, because if you didn't feel pain, it, your life would not be very pleasant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because pain is a very important communication signal.
Mhm. Yep.
But what I learned as a practitioner who for years had already been helping people through lower back injuries, particularly disc injuries,
Mhm.
was that so you can learn as much as you want on a course, you can learn as much as you want from a textbook, but when you go through the experience
Yeah.
yourself, that is the real learning, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I've now got that experience that I can pass on to people going through the same situation.
Yeah.
But another experience that highlights what you were talking about as well, was nutrition. And, obviously most people know that your tissues are made up of the foods that you eat, right? They're the
Yeah.
building blocks. So, if you eat a poor diet, you're going to have poor muscles and poor tendons and poor ligaments and poor
Mhm.
bones, right? But on a slightly different slant to it, I went through a 3-year period where my left knee was swollen. I couldn't bend it. I couldn't flex the knee very much. I could still lift weights fine. I could still squat and lunge. That wasn't a problem. But as soon as I got on the tennis court, I couldn't push off my left leg.
Mm.
That's a bit of a problem when you're
Yeah.
playing tennis matches, right?
Yeah.
Trying to change direction 1,000 times a game.
Mhm.
And I'll cut a long story short. I learned that my body does not like porridge oats
Mm.
because the pain started literally within weeks of me restart, because I hadn't eaten it for decades. Started eating it. I didn't put two and two together. So a few weeks after I started eating it, this knee pain started kicking in.
Yeah.
And about 3 weeks after I stopped eating it, the knee
Mm.
pain completely went, and I had full range of motion back in that knee, you know? So again, for me, it taught me my body doesn't like porridge oats, even though 30 years ago I was fine. I could eat them fine 30 years ago, but for whatever reason, my body just doesn't like them now. Um, so yeah, some really important things that you can gain from pain. But I really like what you said as well about resilience. Going back to my lumbar disc injury, I like yourself, I've had loads of sports injuries over the years. I've played
Yeah.
so many sports, but minor ones, maybe like grade 1 muscle tear,
Yeah.
right? I'd go to someone like yourself, I'd get a sports massage, and 2 or 3 days later, I'm back,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
But when I had my back injury, obviously discs have very little blood supply.
Mhm.
They heal very slowly. And every day I was thinking, there's no difference. There's no difference. Where I was used to, oh yeah, muscle tear, you feel a bit better the next day, you feel a bit better the next day. And then, a day after that, you're possibly okay. And with the back pain, I was a bit like, oh, this isn't, it didn't, you couldn't notice the difference from day to day because it was so minor.
Yeah.
But what I did have in the back of my mind was this burning, deep belief I was going to be fine,
Mhm.
you know? And that, I guess, probably came from resilience from all my previous experiences where I always come out okay in the end.
Mhm.
This just happened to be the most the most serious one I ever had.
Yeah.
And also I guess I had the knowledge that, I'd helped lots of other people
Mhm.
overcome the same kind of condition. But, resilience is such an important aspect in life because, again, as I think you alluded to, life is always going to have ups and downs. It's going to have pros and cons. It's going to have good times. You're going to have bad times. That's yin and yang, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. Matches your surname, right? Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like anything in life. If you want to gain, you gotta put the effort in first, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
If you want to get strong or build muscle, you got to go in the gym and you got to go through some uncomfortable periods, right?
Yeah.
If you want to build some resilience, get in a cold plunge every morning,
Mm. Yeah.
right? That's going to build some resilience, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But you've got to go through that uncomfortable period because that makes everything else in your life more comfortable because you've got that resilience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to pause the conversation briefly to share something relevant. If you're new to the show, my work focuses on helping people understand why pain and inflammation persist, especially when conventional approaches haven't provided clear answers. I'm currently opening enrollment for a new online group program called Beyond the Pain: Discover and Remove the Foods Fueling Your Pain in just 14 days. It's designed for people who want to explore whether food and inflammation may be contributing to ongoing symptoms such as pain, stiffness, low energy, or poor recovery. The program guides participants through a short, structured process to identify potential food triggers, reduce inflammatory load, and build a clearer understanding of how their body responds. It's not a diet, it's not about restriction or perfection. It's about gaining clarity and practical insight. The program starts on the 2nd of March, and you'll find full details in the show notes. All right, let's return to the episode.
And I think with resilience, I think a lot of it starts in the mind. Um, give you an example. From I did a. Do you know what a Spartan race is?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did a 50K ultra Spartan race, which
Wow.
is
That, that's
60
a long
obstacles.
that's a long one.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah, so for the audience, it's like an assault course type thing.
Yeah, it's like an obstacle course.
Yeah.
And so the terrain, the terrain is rough terrain. You're running on rocks, pebbles, through the creek, things like that. And plus, obstacles that you have to go through, like, climbing over a wall, doing a rope climb, carrying a boulder, things like that, just for the obstacles. But as I'm doing this, so with the 50K, you do a 25K one loop, then you go with 30 obstacles, and you go back out and do the same 25K with 30 obstacles. And as I'm on the second loop, I hear people saying, "Oh, I can't finish this race," or "This race is too hard." And in their mind, they've already set up like, "Oh man, I can't be able to finish this." And kind of like what you allude, like, when you have that mental capacity of like, "Oh, I will get better at this," or "I will see the light at the end of the tunnel." And so for me, I did not listen to all those other athletes that were running the same race that I was doing. And I basically just said, I can and I will finish this race. So give you some context. During this race, um, it took me like 12 hours, 12 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. But during this race, so I dropped a boulder on my toe. Uh, I lost my gloves. I tore my hands on the rope climb. My hands were all bloody. I had a nosebleed. I had way too many Cliff Bars, so I had digestive issues. I carried 3 camelbacks with me that was full of water and hydration. Um, my tracker got caught on one of the obstacles. I had to run an extra, like I was already half a mile down. I had to run a half mile back up to that obstacle and retrieve my tracker. So all these things that went wrong went wrong. And a 50K is no joke, right?
Mm,
But all these other people did not go through what I was going through. They didn't have a nosebleed. They didn't drop the boulder on their toe, but they already quit in their mind of this race is too hard. And guess what? Those people didn't finish. A 50K ultra is about a 50% fail rate. And so about 600 athletes went in, and about 324 people actually finished the race. And so, with resilience, it does start in the mind. And what you tell your mind, what you're thinking in your mind, your body is going to naturally follow with it. And because all those people have said like, "Oh, this is too hard." Well, guess what? It was too hard and they didn't finish. But with
mm,
me, I didn't say that this race is too hard in spite of all the things that happened. For me, I was just like, my mind was like, I will finish that. I will see that finish line. And that was my mind, and which I did. And I finished it. And it took me a long time, but I still had that resilience of like, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what. So yeah,
mm,
I mean, to what you're talking about is that you will get better, even if it's like so small that you don't see it day to day, but you've already made up in your mind, and guess
mm,
what? You got better. So
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me of another story, and this is about resilience. Isn't necessarily about pain, although actually no pain was involved.
Yeah.
Uh, some years, about 10 years ago or so, I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat,
Mm,
which is a silent retreat, and as a big meat eater, it's quite tough to do as well because can't eat any animal
mm,
foods,
yeah.
so it's all vegetarian, which I don't do particularly well on.
Wow.
Um, yeah. Um, But I went in with the mindset that I don't care what happens, I'm staying the course. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so you're meditating in silence about 8 hours a day. There's other people there, but you're not allowed to talk to them. You're not allowed to even look at them.
Wow.
You can't look anyone in the eye.
Yeah.
Um, and you're sat there And I don't know if anyone's ever tried sitting cross-legged for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Right, your erector spinae muscles, you start to notice them right after probably
30
25
minutes.
minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not the worst bit. Because you're sat cross-legged, your blood supply gets cut off
Cut off, exactly.
from
Yep.
your legs, right? So eventually you get pins and needles, you can't feel your feet.
Yep. Mhm.
So it's actually really uncomfortable. It's kind of part of the reason you're there, because it's all about trying to have your mind at an even keel.
Yeah.
So, and you're focusing on your sensations of your body, but not getting too happy at the bits that feel good. Because when you're meditating for that long, some parts of your body feel absolutely amazing,
Right, yeah.
but then there are other parts that are feeling awful. And the idea is that you don't feel too good about the good bits, and you don't feel bad about the bad bits. You're just trying to stay nice and even, right?
Mhm.
And it was interesting that every day you just see there was probably, I'm guessing, about 300 people there, like 150 men, 150 women on average. And then every day or even every session, you just see the room emptying. And I don't know exactly how many people didn't stay the course. I'm going to guess and say 30% didn't stay the course.
Mm.
Um, so you're going through this pain, and it would be easy just to walk out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But once I had that mindset, I'm doing it. There
Yeah.
was pretty much nothing that would have stopped me,
Mhm.
And again, I work with a lot of people in pain, like you do, and I know it's difficult when you're in pain, especially
Yeah.
if you've got persistent pain, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like listening to someone like me say what I just said, I'm sure they would say to me, "Oh, but you don't understand,"
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But I think what we are saying is that even if you are suffering from persistent pain, keep that hope there.
Yeah.
It might not be resilience per se, but it's more have faith in the fact that your body is amazing and it can do amazing things. Because I've seen miracles
Yeah.
happen
Yep.
in front of my face. Like, I'll tell you another quick story again. I've shared quite a lot, but it's a really good one. And it was a guy who came to see me years ago. He was 42, hadn't done any exercise in his adult life, decided he wanted to run a marathon. And his running coach said, "You need to find someone that does active release techniques."
Mm.
That's how he found me. And so he'd come in every week and I would work on his calf muscles because they were, in bits, because all he was doing was running.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said to him from day one, "Look, you need more than just hands-on therapy." I said, "You need a proper strength program, you need a proper nutrition and lifestyle program.
Yeah.
Then you're less likely to get injured and you're going to perform better."
Yeah.
So just a few weeks out, he rings me and says, I've done my back in. I can't even walk." And so he came in the next day and I took one look at him and thought, he's not going to be doing this marathon. He looks terrible. And he turned around and said to me, what do you think? Do you think I'm going to still be able to do it? Have I wasted all my time? Knowing how strong the mind is,
Yeah.
if I'd have said, no, there's no way you can do it, that was it, right?
Mhm.
You can draw a line under that. He wouldn't have done it. Now, I didn't think he could, but as I say, I've seen so many amazing things happen in front of me. I wanted to leave the door open for his mind to be able to believe that he could do it. And so I said, look, you know what I said to you at the beginning, that rather than just having hands-on therapy, you need a good strength program, nutritional lifestyle plan. If we decide to do that like now, and you follow it for the next, I think it was 6 weeks,
Mm.
I said, I'll give you a 50% chance, right? Even then I was being optimistic,
Yeah.
right? And then the week of the marathon, he came in to see me for the last session. And he said, "What do you think?" And even then I thought, don't think he's going to be able to run 26 miles.
Yeah.
But again, I knew that if I said, I don't think it's a good idea, he would never have done it. So I said, look, I'll tell you what to do. You've bought your flight ticket. You've got your hotel booked. fly out to Germany, do your warm up, stand on the start line, see how you go. If you start feeling pain, just stop. Don't be a hero. There's going to be other marathons.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm still thinking, yeah, he's probably going to get 5 miles in, 10 miles in, and he just have to stop. But, it's, at the end of the day, there's going to be more marathons. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So that Sunday afternoon, I remember thinking, oh, I wonder how he's getting on. And literally, as I said that, my phone pinged. And I went over to my phone and picked it up, and it was from him. And he said, just to let you know, I've finished the marathon. I,
Nice. Yeah.
I did it in just under 4 hours. He said,
Wow.
I've got no pain. And he said, I haven't even got any muscle soreness.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'd have said to him 6 weeks before, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get ready for the next one. He would never have done that one,
Yeah.
And again, that just shows you the power of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
People often ask me what makes my approach different. The truth is, I don't look at pain through a single lens. I look at your movement, nutrition, gut health, stress load, sleep patterns, emotional stress, and nervous system, because pain is rarely caused by just one thing. Once we look at everything together, the path forward becomes clear. If you'd like help understanding your unique pain pattern, book a discovery call at bodycheck.co.uk/consultation. That's bodycheck.co.uk/consultation. Now, back to the show. So, as you mentioned, you're a licensed massage therapist and
Yeah.
you specialize in pain management and mobility. From your perspective, what are some of the most overlooked or underused strategies that people could be using to manage or even reduce their chronic pain, without reaching for the one thing that we're both not particularly keen on, which is, painkillers and
Right. Yeah.
anti-inflammatories?
Yeah. Uh, I think again, going back to nutrition, good like turmeric. Turmeric with
Mm,
black pepper is great with to reduce inflammation. Um, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think because I feel like especially here in the United States, it's called the standard American diet, which
mm,
spells sad.
mm,
And I don't think people realize how much food actually like will either help you or not help you with athletic performance or with recovery. And for me, like I see so many people it's just like, hey, like, I've got, a crick in my neck or something like that. And, I'm like, hey, I could work it out, but you only see me like for an hour. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Like, are you
mm,
doing some stretching? Are you doing some walking? Are you relieving some stress? Are you sitting at a desk all day? Um, if you're sitting at a desk all day for 8 hours, like, yeah, I can help you for like an hour, release some soft tissue. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you got to do your part too. And not just take, popping pills, but hey,
mm,
get up out of your desk, do some stretching, like some neck stretching, walk around a little bit, get the blood flowing. Like I said, it's your body is a whole, and if you're sitting down, I mean, you're not bringing any circulation to your legs, or you're not getting your heart rate up, and it's everything is connected. So I think those are some of the things that I really tell my clients, like, hey, get up every hour, drink, a glass of water while you get up and walk around. Do some stretching. Because like I don't see you on a day-to-day basis. Like I'm
mm,
not hovering over you saying, hey, like you gotta do XYZ. Like, hey, I only see you for this certain amount of time and I can only do so much. And
mm,
so I think those are some practicals that I tell a lot of my clients, like just start doing some of these things, be mindful of these things.
mm,
Um, of course, getting proper rest. For me, I shut down all electronics an hour before we go to bed. Um, to start kind of winding down and getting ready for like, okay, it's time to rest. Because when we look at electronics, blue light, it actually brings up the stress hormone, and then it causes us not to sleep. Then we have insomnia, things like that, and people wonder why like they're not recovering or they're not sleeping well. And, for me, again, I live in the United States. We do something called daylight savings time. And statistically speaking, when we do a daylight savings time for just 1 hour during that time, whether it be spring or fall, the next day, like on Monday morning, there are, I think it's like 60% more accidents on the road because of that 1 hour time change.
Mm.
And when like, even like, hey, like I'm going to go sleep 10:30 today. Okay. And the next day I'm going to go sleep at 11. All these things starts accumulating of like 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there of not getting good proper sleep. Like, how much is that affecting our health, our well-being,
Mm.
and even just our pain and recovery? And athletes know, like, hey, I need proper rest. And they're like, hey, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. so I can wake up at 4 so I can go do, strength training or go run or whatever. And I think people here in the United States just they take sleep for granted. They take these little moments for granted. Um, and so yeah, I think these are just some practicals that I tell my clients and practicals that I do,
Mm.
because I know what it's like to be in that much stress or be in pain. So yeah, those are things that I really do and teach. So
Mm. Yeah, it's very similar. It's very similar to what I recommend. I mean, the one thing that I often say to people, I give them generally I give people, exercise plans to follow, nutrition,
yeah,
lifestyle, stress reduction, detoxification, manual therapy.
yeah,
But I say to them, how long are you spending doing those things? And they're like, well, okay, they might work it out and say, well, it's 4 hours a week. I say, great. How many hours in a week are there? Most people don't know. so I tell
right, yeah,
so I tell them it's 168 hours in a week. So if let's say you're exercising for 3 hours a week, let's say, and let's say you're trying to optimize your body alignment, your posture, you're taking stress off of tissues on the body. That's great. But if you're walking around on your phone, if
yep,
you're sat slumped in a chair,
yep,
if you're working on a computer that's not set up correctly, if you're
mhm,
sitting on an office chair that's not set up correctly, now you're creating, a very while it's low intensity, it's a long period of time that tissues are in a position that they're not really designed to be in,
exactly, yeah,
and that's going to put strain through them. So it is really important that people consider every hour of the day, not just, oh, I've done my exercise today, now I can just do whatever I want, right?
hmm,
Um, but the way that I look at things, and it's pretty much exactly the same as what you've just said. Um, but we look at what we call the six foundation factors. So number one is your thoughts. Okay, we've already spoken about the mind and how important the mind is.
yeah,
But the other important thing with the mind and pain is that the more stressed you are, the more it increases or I should say lowers your threshold to pain. So you're
yeah,
more likely to feel pain the more stressed you are.
hmm,
And the more stressed you are, the less the tissues in your body are going to recover.
yeah,
So if you've got stress hormones floating around the body, your growth and repair hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, they're going to be lower. Then you've got breathing.
yeah,
Breathing, again, very closely linked to stress, very closely linked to your mindset.
hmm,
Can also be linked to the way you move.
yeah,
So inhaling, your spine lengthens. As you exhale, the spine reduces. And that's also allowing the flow of cerebral spinal fluid up and down the spine and
hmm,
in the skull. Next is hydration that you mentioned.
yep,
Again, what are we, 70% water?
yep, hmm,
It doesn't take much degree of dehydration for things to start going wrong,
that's
right?
right, hmm,
Next is nutrition.
yeah,
And again, the quality of food is so, so important. As you mentioned,
hmm,
you mentioned the standard American diet. It's not that different in the UK. Some of it might be a slightly better standard because we have slightly better standards over here in terms of the um, authorities. But I think we're slowly taking on the American standards, which yeah, that's a whole nother ball game.
yeah,
But yeah, things like eating organic and avoiding things like the seed oils and
hmm,
and the processed sugars and
yeah,
For some people, gluten, gluten can be a big
Yeah.
problem, and
Mhm.
processed dairy, etc. But also understanding what's right for you as an individual.
Mhm.
As I said earlier, a high vegetable diet just doesn't work for me. You know, look at us two. We look different, right? Your genetics are from Asia, mine are from Europe. Our ancestors probably grew up in different environments,
Mhm. Yep.
right? So
Yep.
we had different access to different types of foods. So our
Yep.
diets may well be different in terms of what works for us. The next thing is movement.
Mhm.
Okay, again, you mentioned, if you're sat at a desk all day, get up and move around, right? Um, but also getting the right amount of movement. For some people, they do too much, right?
Yes.
So again, it's listening to your body. So last week I had a really, really intense week with work, really long hours. And this week, my body was saying to me, just take a week off from training.
Yeah.
I needed to rest. And that's just listening to what my body needs in terms of movement. But the other thing with pain is that we also know that movement reduces pain, right?
Yep.
And again, I know some people say, yeah, but when I move, it hurts, right? What I would suggest to anyone that's in that situation is really experiment and try and find what kind of movement you can do
Yeah.
without it hurting.
Yeah.
You know, one great thing for most people in pain is a swimming pool,
Oh, yeah. Low
right?
impact. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Just the flow of the water over your skin actually helps to reduce pain.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you've got the stress going through your joints because you're in the water is
Mhm.
practically zero.
Yeah, yeah, it's low impact and I mean, it reduces inflammation and reduces stress. Oh, yeah, swimming is so great. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And some people might say, well, I don't like swimming or I'm not very good at swimming. You don't have to swim.
You don't have to swim. Just
You
get in the
can
water.
walk. You can walk. You can jog. You
Yep.
know, you can do whatever. And if that's going to help with your pain, but why not do it? Because
Mhm.
you're going to be pumping fluids through the joints. Most of our joints are synovial joints, which means they're lubricated by synovium.
Yep.
So just that movement is going to help. Then number 6 is sleep and circadian rhythms.
Mhm.
So, try to get to bed when it's dark, not, you know, 4 hours after it's got dark,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
you know, sleep when it's dark and be awake when it's light. I mean, I know that's not entirely doable in the Western world, but if you can stick to that as close as you can,
Mhm.
I know this time of year. So, this is December, we're recording this. I wake up an hour or two, an hour and a half later than I do in the summer.
Mm.
You know, it's getting light about 8 o'clock in the morning here at the moment. In the summer, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm normally awake by about 5 in the summer,
Yeah.
you know? So that's the 6 foundations. But then for me, there's other things you can do. So again, kind of mentioned it, detoxification,
Yeah.
again, is important. Again, if you're in pain, any toxins in your body is going to increase your inflammation.
Mhm. Yep.
Now, what's popping up everywhere, and I know that's in the US and in the UK, are these recovery centers. And they've got the cold plunges and the
Mhm.
infrared saunas and
Yep.
the red light therapy. Some of them have things like, um, hyperbaric oxygen chambers and
Mhm.
vitamin C IVs and things like that. And they're great. All those things are great. But for me, you've got to have those 6 foundations in place first,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
they're going to help you even if you don't have them, but you're going to get a lot more benefit if you've got all those other factors in place first.
Yep. Yep.
So that was just a long winded way of answering exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
If you've tried everything stretching, physio, hands on treatment, injections, and your pain still hasn't shifted, you're not alone. Most people try to fix pain from the outside when the real drivers are happening inside the body. Gut irritation, food sensitivities, nervous system overload, these often keep pain switched on. When you calm inflammation, the body can finally settle. The pain-free plate gives you 7 foods that help support that shift. Download your free guide at bodycheck.co.uk. That's chek.co.uk/pain-free-plate. All right, back to the episode.
As you're saying those six pillars, I totally agree. And I actually talk about those things in my book, Mindset Metamorphosis. Um, and I go into like different things. Like I talk about box breathing to kind of de-stress. Like if you're in a really stressful job, you can do it where, and no one notices it. Box
Mm,
breathing is breathing in for 4 and you're drawing a box, and then exhaling for 4 and drawing a
yeah.
box again. And that really brings down your cortisol levels. Breathing is so essential, and I feel like most of us don't do it correctly. And we that's something that we can actually control, and actually we don't have control of, because we
Mm,
don't control it when we're asleep. We just naturally breathe, right?
mm.
But we can control it. So yeah, I mean, I think those six pillars are, yeah, it's definitely foundational, and I definitely do talk about those in my book as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I do assess when I'm doing a physical evaluation on someone, I do assess how they breathe.
Hmm.
And it's pretty close to 100% of people that don't breathe correctly,
Yeah.
you know? And for the audience, what I mean by that is we have primary respiratory muscles, so particularly the diaphragm.
Yep.
So as you inhale, you should notice your belly moves outwards,
Yeah. Not
right?
not your chest. Yeah.
Not the chest.
Yeah.
So the muscles up here that lift up the rib cage, they're called
Mhm.
accessory respiratory muscles.
Yeah.
If you're using them to breathe, they actually are tied in with the stress response
Hmm.
because those muscles are meant to activate when it's a fight or flight
Yeah.
situation because you want to get more oxygen into the system.
Yeah.
So if you're breathing all day and your shoulders are lifting and your chest is opening up as you breathe in when you're sat at a desk, all that's doing is creating more stress
Yeah.
in your system, you know?
Yep.
So you just mentioned your book, Mindset Metamorphosis.
Yep.
You share how mastering the mind can transform someone's life. How do you see mindset influencing physical healing and the way someone experiences chronic pain?
Yeah, kind of talking about before, I mean, everything starts in the mind.
Mm,
What you think is what you become. I think that's what Buddha said that, I believe. And give you an example. So, give you some context behind this book. So, January 2024, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then about February 2024, she's going to be starting treatment for her cancer. And then I'm reading this book called The Breast Cancer Husband. And basically this book is telling me, hey, be there for your wife, be at all her appointments. And then as I'm finishing this book, it says, hey, let your employer know, just do the right thing. So you're not calling out all the time and, pretending to be sick or whatever. Just be upfront with them and to let them know, like, hey, just ask for a flexible work schedule. And so for me, I was very reluctant to do that. But February 1st came around, I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk to my employer. And when I did, I was like, hey, I'll work weekends, I'll work nights, whatever I need to do to make up my time to finish my task or whatever. And then they said, yeah, that's fine. And then exactly a week after I disclosed that, they decided to lay me off.
mm,
And so with that, so faith is a big part of my life. After I got laid off, I heard the news. I came home. My wife and I, we prayed, but we didn't ask God, why is this happening to us? Why did my wife get cancer? Why did I lose my job? All within a short amount of time. We asked the question, why not us? And who can we help? And so as I'm going to my wife's treatments, I was just journaling one day, just like I was just writing my thoughts down, writing my emotions down, my feelings, and I was just like, just expressing myself in writing form. And so that actually transformed into, because that question always came back, who can we help? And so my journaling turned into a book. And it's a book based on how to help people, how to get unstuck in life when you're facing some sort of challenge or adversity, um, how to de-stress, how to basically not be overwhelmed. Because for me, I was that person. I was the one that was feeling stuck because I'm like, there's nothing I can do to get rid of this cancer. I was overly stressed because I didn't have a job. My wife is going through cancer. I was overwhelmed. I'm like, well, I I don't know how am I going to pay for the next bill, next medical bill or whatever. And so that's kind of how it transformed. And I talk about a lot of like practicals of breathing, journaling, uh, you know walking, doing some exercise, drinking water. Um, just these are just the practicals that helped me get through this time as I was facing this tremendous, basically life challenge.
Mm,
And so that's kind of how it kind of came about. And basically, it's for anyone that really does feel like they don't know what's like the next step. I talk about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is more like I've been at this job for 25 years. I don't need to learn anything new. And that's kind of it. While a growth mindset is like, all right, what else can I learn? Can I learn from this new colleague that started yesterday? What are, maybe I need to learn a software that this colleague knows or something. And that's having that growth mindset. And so for me, for my wife and I, we had to have that growth mindset. We took it upon ourselves. We took responsibility of our lives. We read so many cancer books. We read so many nutrition books that help with cancer. We read a book called Chris Beat Cancer. And I know you said it's kind of hard for you to go, eat a lot of vegetables and, a plant based diet. But a lot of the books that we read on cancer and nutrition talks about a whole food plant based diet and how it can reverse cancer effects and how they can boost your immune system. And so yeah, we took it upon ourselves after we read the book. We're like, all right, we're going full plant based diet, whole food plant based diet. And for me, it was pretty easy for me growing up because I grew up in a Korean culture, traditional Korean culture, which is a lot of vegetables, a lot of grains, a lot of fermented foods. So for me, I was like, hey, this is easy for me to do. But for
mm.
my wife, it was a little bit more difficult. She grew up eating a lot of meat with some vegetables, but not a whole lot. And so, but she's like, all right, well, let's do this because all these other people who's come before us had cancer, and then they actually reverse their cancer based on their food.
Mm.
So we're like, okay, well, let's do that because these people have walked before us. They know what they're doing. These are like doctors and things like that we read books on. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
I'm
that's
very
what,
familiar with, Gerson therapy, which, you know, suggests a plant-based diet.
yeah,
And
yeah. So,
that's been around for over 100 years.
oh yeah, more than 100 years. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at biblical times, Book of Daniel, I mean, they did a plant-based diet too. So, but yeah, that's something that we really just integrated into our own lives. And that's kind of how the book kind of came about. I wrote
Mm,
it during my wife's treatments and during my time when I didn't have a job for 10 months.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can really see how, someone that's been stuck in pain for a long period of time will kind of be listening to us too and just say, "Yeah, but you don't understand. It's really difficult to stay positive." What would you say to someone that's perhaps thinking that?
Yeah. Don't do it alone. Kind of like what
Mm,
you're saying to that marathon runner, right? Like,
mm,
you're thinking that maybe he won't be able to do it, but you actually push them like, hey, give it a try. There's other marathons that will happen. For find a coach, find a mentor, find help, someone that can help you get through these times. Because for me, I've done martial arts all my life, but there were times where my instructor was like, hey, like these are some steps that you need to do before you go to the next level. And it kind of grounded me, but then it also kind of motivated and inspired me to like, okay, yeah, there is something to look forward to that someone above me can see. And yeah, I would say get help. I feel like motivation, uh, we as humans aren't really motivated. Like, we're not just like born with it. We have to be motivated by somebody else. And I think just, I mean, we're not meant to do this life by ourselves. I mean,
Mm,
you look at even the beginning of time, Adam and Eve. God created Adam, and then God's like, "All right, you need a suitable helper. Here's Eve." And there's what 8 billion people in the world. Like, that's not a coincidence. We need each other to help motivate each other, to spur one another on, and to really lift each other up because, like, we're human. We have all these emotions. We have all this stress, and then we were like, "Oh, like, yeah, you just don't understand like what I'm going through." We're all going through something,
mm,
and let's try to help people out.
mm,
People say like, "Yeah, I don't understand what it means to like hurt in my shoulder." I'm like, I became a massage therapist because I understand what it's like to be in pain because I have so many pain injuries that from sports and things like that. So I'm like, all right, well, I know you hurt here because I hurt here, and I know what helped me to get through it, and I'm going to help you get through it. But that's up to you if you want to do the work or not.
mm. Yeah, you mentioned motivation. That's a really interesting one for me because that's something that I've been interested in for a long, long time. And that for me is a really important part of the process for anyone in pain is to get really clear on what your life is going to be like when you don't have pain,
Yeah.
right? How are you going to benefit? What is your life going to look like? What will you be able to do that you can't do now? And when I ask people those kind of questions, they say things like, well, I can get back to playing sport, or I can actually play with my kids, or I might be able to pick up my grandchild, or I might actually be able to go back to work, or
Hmm.
I might be able to perform better at work, which means I can, maybe make more money and maybe my wife doesn't have to work anymore,
Yeah. Hmm.
It's it's really important to get really clear on your why.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get rid of pain? And I think the other thing that's related to this is that for some people, and this isn't a criticism, it's just the way we are as humans. For some people, there's something called secondary gain. You know, think to yourself, is there a benefit for being in pain? Do
Hmm.
you perhaps get more attention
Yeah.
when you're in pain?
Yeah.
Right? As an example, do you get paid for not working when you're in pain?
Yeah.
Right? And these are often subconscious, like you're not consciously aware of these things. Um, but just getting first of all really clear on your why.
Yeah.
Why do you no longer want to be in pain? Because it can be very easy just to consider the negative things.
Hmm.
Oh, this pain's terrible. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, you can't do those things. Great. But let's focus on what you do want to do. Let's focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Because if you keep focusing on the negative, what are you going to get more of?
You're gonna get negative results.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything in the universe is a vibration.
Yeah.
And if your thoughts, which are vibrations,
Hmm.
are negative vibrations, what are you going to attract into your life? Just
Yeah.
more negativity.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not suggesting that's easy,
No.
but just by focusing on the positives, on your why, on a regular basis, I'm not talking once a day, I'm talking multiple times a day. Check in with yourself
Yeah.
and say, right, when I've got rid of pain, this is what my life's going to be like. And then that really encourages you to do the things you need to do and possibly give up or do less of the things that are currently part of the reason why you're in pain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You might love eating potato chips or whatever, right? They're made with rapeseed oil or whatever. But what would you rather have? Potato chips and pain or no potato chips and no pain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be as big a trade-off for that. There might be a healthier snack that you can eat, right? If indeed you need to snack.
Yeah.
Um, so again, we come back to mindset, right? Mindset is so important. And the other thing for me is so important when I'm working with people, and again, it comes back to mindset is what are your core values around certain areas?
Yeah.
Setting core values around your movement, setting core values around your diet, setting core values around your sleep and your rest,
Hmm.
right? Because it's really easy when, you know, you might start on a regime, and then you get invited to a wedding, and you go to the wedding, and then you drink loads of alcohol, and you eat lots of cake and all that kind of stuff, and then you feel terrible afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And you have a big flare of pain, and then they'll come back to someone like me, and they say, "Oh well, it was a wedding. I had to do that." It's like, well, when you say have to, like, did someone have your arm tied up behind your back? And so, what I try and do with people is, prior to those kind of things happening, is to say, right, well, what would be your value set around those kind of things?
Yeah.
And if they say, well, I'm just going to enjoy myself, I'm going to say, okay, well, what do you think might be the consequence of that? Well, I'm going to be in pain for like 2 weeks afterwards. Okay, is that acceptable to you? They might say, yeah, fine. I will support that if that's what they want. But if they say, do you know what, I'm fed up with this pain, I want to get rid of this pain. Okay, let's come up with a plan
Yeah.
that's going to be suitable for you whilst you're at a wedding,
Mhm.
right? It might be, I just won't have a dessert. Or when I've had 2 drinks, I'll go on to soft drinks, potentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's up to the person to come up with those values themselves.
Yeah.
But for me, it just helps, setting really clear values
Yeah.
really helps people to make the right decisions.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's an old saying, your yes has no value until you learn how to say no.
Yeah. And
Powerful.
I think that goes back to, and I talk about this in my book, about setting boundaries.
Mm.
Like,
Boundaries, values, same thing,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And yeah, I think setting boundaries, because if you don't set boundaries, people are just going to trample all over you. They're just going to take advantage of you. And then if you're just like the yes man, yes to everything, well, then you're going to be burnt out. And, like, give an example for us, we had to set examples of like those boundaries of like, hey, like, we're not going to go to church because my wife is immune compromised. And that's our boundary. Like, we're
Mm.
not going to take that because my wife can get really sick and then it can spiral really, really, really downward. And we're going to set that boundary right now. And like, okay, like, you guys know, that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good example. Really good example. And, you know, hopefully, in a period of time, your wife's going to be absolutely fine, and then she can go back to doing all those things, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But, you know, if you make the wrong decisions now, it could be, you know, well, I don't even want to say what could happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Hmm.
So if you imagine someone watching or listening to this, they're in pain, what for you would be your top 3 tips for them?
Top 3 tips. Yeah, as we talk about pain, though, pain is multifaceted. There's
Uh,
emotional pain, there's spiritual pain, there's of course physical pain,
uh,
um, yeah, there's financial pain, things like that. So yeah, I mean it's multifaceted. And I think top 3 tips though is start small. Um, and I talk about this in my book as well, like starting small, like don't just get up one day like, hey, I'm gonna run a marathon and never worked out for like, all your life.
uh,
Um, just start small by putting your shoes on. Like, okay, celebrate that win. Like, hey, I put my shoes on today. The next day, put your shoes on, walk to the mailbox. That's it. You know, and then on the third day, walk to your neighbor's mailbox. So, I think because then that those small actions will help motivate like, oh, maybe I can run a 5K or maybe I can run a marathon. But if we don't start small, I mean, the world wasn't built in a day. I mean, Rome
uh,
wasn't built in a day. So
uh,
we as humans expect like, oh, like I'm gonna run a marathon even though I haven't worked out in like 50 years or whatever. Like,
yeah.
so yeah, starting small. I think number two, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is a good teacher. It
Uh,
challenges us. It helps us learn. But don't just be like, oh, I failed at it, then just kind of give up. You know, if we look at like babies, when they're first trying to walk, what is the first thing that they do? They fall on their butt. They fall on their leg. They fall 1,000 times.
uh,
But a baby, like we can't get inside of a baby's mind. But I think a baby's like, hey, these big people are walking. Why can't I walk?
Mm.
We as adults we don't just say like, oh, like the baby tried once and then it was like, oh, you're never gonna walk ever in your life. And I think just having that mentality of like it's okay to fail, but to learn from those mistakes, those learn
Mm.
from those failures, because that will teach us so many lessons that we can never even understand. And number three, I would say, um, man, so many things to choose from. I feel like I would say read books.
Mhm.
Because I feel like a book is like a $15 mentor. There's so many books. Find a topic that you want to really learn about, whether it be like, hey, I'm dealing with physical pain. Go pick up a book about what it means to be pain free physically. Like if you have like a shoulder injury or whatever, or car accident, there's so many books out there, doctors out there that has talked about like the neurons and like how to basically rewire pain, because everything all pain really starts in your mind. If you think you
Mm.
have pain, well, guess what? You have
That's
pain.
that's the only place pain exists,
Yeah, yeah,
is in
but I
your
mean,
brain.
pain is a great signal for us. I
Mm.
mean, if we didn't have pain, like if we touched a hot stove and didn't have pain receptors, then our hand is just gonna be burnt, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
pain is a good thing, but start learning about things that you want to learn about or things that you're struggling with. Like if you're struggling like financially, like start picking up books about like financial health, or if you're trying to start a business, learn about business from books, learn from mentors. There's so many people that have built a business. There's so many people that has written books about money or pain or whatever it is. So yeah, I would say those three things would
Mm.
definitely is a good starting point to start
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
people get out of that mind frame of like, oh, I'm just gonna be pain for the rest of my life, and that's it.
Yeah. Great. They're great. So start small.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to fail.
yeah,
There's the old saying, you either win or you learn,
yeah,
right? You don't
yeah,
win or lose, you win or you learn.
yeah,
Well, if you learn from your mistakes.
yeah,
And then the final one, educate yourself, really.
yeah.
I would say some people don't like books. So use a format that you would resonate with.
Yeah, use
Some,
an
so,
audiobook. I mean,
exactly, right?
use a
Podcasts.
video course. There's so
Yeah.
many avenues you can learn.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some great podcasts on pain, apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
And, with mine as well, you can watch it or you can listen to it, depending
Mhm.
on, some people are visual learners. They, like myself, I prefer to watch a podcast.
Yeah,
Some people, if they're auditory learners, they'd rather listen. And I know some people, they listen to podcasts while they're doing stuff, right? Like doing the
yeah,
housework or cooking dinner or,
driving or working out or
yeah, you
yeah,
know? So, yeah, I mean, it could be, you might be a book person as well. I mean, I do all those. I
yeah,
listen to podcasts, I watch podcasts, I read books, you know, but I feel like I get more information when I watch.
yeah.
But that's all very individual. But yeah, that's a great three steps for people to start with. And what's next for you, DK?
Um, Next for me, I mean, I'm writing another book. I actually have another book out. It's called the Kimchi Connection Cookbook, and it's basically about the whole benefits of fermented foods and how to integrate it into your lifestyle basically, and basically how to make your own kimchi. If you don't know what kimchi is, it's a Korean fermented side dish. It has a lot of benefits, a lot of probiotics, and if you don't know that there's a big gut brain connection, and about 70% of your immune system sits in your gut. So, people talk about like, hey, I have irritable bowel syndrome or I've got a leaky gut. And, they go see the doctor gives them a pill, but then a pill has all these other side effects. But when you start sealing your gut with like good food, like good fiber and probiotics, and, everybody's on this whole probiotic thing craze right now. And instead of like taking a pill, actually take live active bacteria like kimchi or sauerkraut or things like that,
Mm,
that will actually help seal the leaky gut and help with irritable bowel syndrome because it'll help with digestion.
mm,
And, if you when you look at like your immune system, if we don't treat it right, I talked about the standard American diet, which is ultra processed foods and sugary drinks. that our body actually doesn't know how to process that, and basically those things start causing cancer, because it's just chemicals, and
Uh,
our bodies aren't meant to do that, or are meant to, process it. So yeah, when you start adding like real foods into your diet, you'll notice a difference from energy. You won't have the brain fog because, like I said, there's a big gut brain connection, right?
mm.
And if you have a healthy gut, you're going to have a clear mind. But if you keep
And
eating,
you also have a higher pain threshold as well.
yeah, exactly. And because, again, everything starts in the mind. But yeah, so it's a book to help people really to integrate it into their daily lives.
Mm,
And my next book that I'm working on is about gratitude. That's something I had to practice while going through my wife's cancer and job loss. Um, and just having gratitude for like the small things,
mm,
hey, my wife smiled today, even though she's exhausted, or going through chemotherapy, things like that. Or so yeah, I'm writing a book about gratitude is my next thing.
mm,
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, dkkang.com. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I'm actually giving away the first chapter of Mindset Metamorphosis as a free download for you to start changing your mind and to start transforming your mind. And my newsletter is basically just about life lessons that I've went through and what I've learned, and to try to just teach people to be better in their life.
mm,
And both my books, Mindset Metamorphosis, is on Amazon as a Audible, as a Kindle, and as a paperback. And the Kimchi Connection cookbook is on Amazon as well. It's on paperback and Kindle. So that's kind of where you can find me. And the best place, I mean, I'm on social media, but I only go there to post. But if you really want to get a hold of me, is DK at dkking.com is my email. And I usually respond in like 2 to 3 days. And at the end of the day, hey, I just want to be able to help people, because I know we're all going through something in life.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned kimchi, that there's a German company. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's spelled Suur. Maybe it's Shaw. I don't know.
I don't know.
They do amazing um, kimchi, sauerkraut. They do a beetroot sauerkraut, and
Okay.
they do
Okay.
a turmeric and curry sauerkraut,
Oh
which
wow.
is
Okay.
off the chart.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is amazing. Um, for people in the UK, we have a pickle called piccalilli.
Mm,
It's a bit like a mustardy kind of sauce with pickles in it. Um, I don't even know if it's still available because I don't do supermarkets anymore. But
mm.
the um, the curry and turmeric sauerkraut tastes a bit like that.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I absolutely love it. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And,
yeah,
as you mentioned that, like, with sauerkraut or kimchi, you can make it to however way you want to make it.
mm,
You can add in turmeric, you can add in curry, you can make the kimchi non-spicy. Like, you can make it completely vegan. You can add like the fish sauce to it. So yeah, just make it your own. And so for me, I did that because I would buy kimchi at the store, but they'll be in plastic containers. And when you store kimchi into plastic containers, it starts absorbing the microplastics, and then you start
mm,
ingesting it. And so for me, I was like, I'm gonna make my own. I know exactly what goes in it, and
yeah,
I'm gonna put it in glass jars.
yeah,
So for your listeners out there, try to find sauerkraut or kimchi or any fermented foods in a glass jar, because microplastics are a big talk right now,
yeah,
and our bodies aren't meant to digest microplastics. We just don't know how to do it, and microplastics actually causes cancer. So
mm,
just kind of a FYI for that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I only ever buy it in glass jars.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, before we wrap up, how's your wife doing?
Okay, yeah. So my wife is cancer free. It was a year-long treatment. She's cancer free as of February of 2025. But with all the treatments and things like that, she ended up having cataracts. She had surgery done on her eyes, and then now she's dealing with nerve damage due to all the
Oh,
chemotherapy and all that. So we're trying to navigate that. Um, so she has good days, bad days. But I mean, with chemotherapy, it really takes a toll on the immune system. I mean, like, it's basically just like a nuclear bomb went off in your immune system and it
mm,
kills the good and the bad,
yeah,
and so she's trying to rebuild her immune system and really just trying to get more energy. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, send her my best wishes anyway, and
thank you. Thank
hope
you.
she continues to, you know, go forwards on her journey to
Yeah.
recovery.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure you're going to continue with the gratitude,
Yeah.
which will help as well. I wake up every day. The first thing I do is I think, what can I be grateful for today?
Yeah.
And it might be I've got eyes that can see, or
Exactly.
I've
Yeah.
got lungs that can breathe, I've got legs that can walk,
Yeah.
I've got a roof over my head. This time of year, I've got central heating. Right,
Yeah.
it's pretty cold here. I've
Yeah.
got good quality water. I've got high quality food in the fridge.
Yeah.
The simple things are the important
Yeah.
things.
And, when we practice gratitude, something really shifts in our mind. And because then we start seeing the positive instead of like, oh, like, there's a saying like it takes 10 positives to make up that one negative. If our mind is always seeing that negative and that's all we see, like you're talking about, like what we're thinking about, the universe will send us back. We're going to get negative results.
Yeah.
When we start having that gratitude, we're like, oh, we start seeing like some small positives here and there, and then it really reflects our life. So yeah.
Mm, yeah. Many years ago, I was the fitness manager at a health club, and I put a sign above the office door, basically for the stuff for my team to see.
Hmm.
And the sign said, "You create your own attitude."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I would
It's
say
very
to
true.
them,
Yeah.
"Have an attitude of gratitude."
Yeah. That is very true.
You know, DK, this has been great. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, and I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for the wisdom that you've shared with the audience today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on your show. It was a
Yeah,
pleasure for me as well. Thank you.
awesome. So that's it from DK and me for this week. But be sure to join me same time, same place next week on Beyond the Pain. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pain. If this episode resonated, please follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone you know who's been struggling. And remember, pain is not permanent. With the right insight and support, you can turn it into power. Until next time, stay open, stay strong, and keep moving beyond the pain.